Hello friends, today we're here at MoPower, going to do another demonstration of electricity, and we're going to be looking at signal pass-through. And thank you ladies for coming here to support this opening of MoPower. We're going to show signal pass-through and how to do two-way doors, meaning doors that can be opened from both sides. Now step on one side it opens, step on the other opens. Works really well for doors. You can do the same thing for the garage doors. Step on there, opens. For the hatch, you have one at the top, step on it, opens. You have one at the bottom, it'll open. And even the really nice drawbridges. And of course it's going to close. But if I step here, it should be opening as well. It's a fairly convenient concept to be using when you're doing a base building. And you don't necessarily want to use the trigger plates always, because you could also be using the motion sensors. Both of them work equally well, and I will be showing how to hook this up to actually accomplish all of this. Because you can imagine that on your base you want to have your drawbridge, but you don't want to get off all the time when you're coming in. So you basically put a motion sensor, have it recognize you, and it'll open as you try to drive in, and then do the same thing as you try to drive out. Or doing that for the hatches, you might want to have a trigger plate on the inside, but you might want to have a motion sensor on the outside so that, well, so that zombies don't step on this, because trigger plates, if the zombies step on it, it would actually open for them. And of course you don't want to invite them all in, even if they are quite lovely ladies. Concept is simple. Well, I'm going to show it here. We're going to start with just using a door, a vault hatch rather, a vault door, I think it is. And we're going to use the trigger plate. I'm going to show the same thing with the motion sensor. The motion sensor works practically the same way, except it's basically based on a camera rather than you stepping somewhere. But I would always suggest when you're doing this, first put down a trigger plate. Do it with the trigger plate to make sure everything is working. So you have a trigger plate inside, trigger plate outside, and then you hook it up from, come on here, from your generator to your trigger plate 1. The order is really important. From the trigger plate 1, you go to trigger plate 2. From the trigger plate 2, you go to the door. And if I now step on this one, it will open. If I step on this, it will also open. You notice it's very short period. Basically, if I step off, it'll change. So what you can do, you can hold E or hit E, and you can basically give it a power duration. Let's say 5 seconds. And you can do that on both sides. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which means that if I step here, and now I have 5 seconds to get through before it will automatically close. That's simple, isn't it? One thing you need to keep in mind is that this concept is called the signal pass-through. You have one trigger that is connected directly to a second trigger that is connected to whatever you're trying to trigger. That means that it becomes an OR gate. So this or this has to be triggered in order to pass power through. If you put, for instance, a relay in between, it becomes an AND gate. So I'm going to connect this to the relay to this, and if I then step on this, nothing happens. If I step on this, it actually shouldn't open. That was weird. Oh, because I'd already stepped on this. Sorry, I was a bit confused. Why is it opening the second time? It's because I stepped on this one, and within 5 seconds, I actually stepped on this because it's sending power for 5 seconds. That's why. But if I just let everything close, let the time count down a little bit, and now I'll step on this, nothing is going to be happening. Because it's an AND gate. This and this has to be triggered at the same time. You can actually verify that. Well, let's put in a chicken. Look at me, chicken, look at me. The chicken is there. I'm here. You see? Now it's opening. Chicken is there. I'm here. It's opening. But if I kill the chicken... Bye-bye, chicken. Sorry. I appreciate your joining me here for this demonstration. If I then step on this, nothing is going to happen. So if you have a relay or anything in between, it becomes an AND gate. If it's directly connected, it becomes an OR gate. And we're back to it basically opening every time. And I have the same concept here. Obviously, it's the hatch. The garage door works exactly the same way. I basically just have it connected. And hatches, same thing. And the garage door, the same thing. This one, because it's a little bit big, it's you do have to make sure that you we'll give it a reasonable time that it's going to be down, because otherwise it's going to flip you up in there, and that's really, really, really inconvenient. So now that we have this working, how do we do this with a motion sensor? Well, we're going to take out this. So let's assume we don't want to use the trigger blades, which is fine. Let's put down a motion sensor here. Let's say this is the outside. Okay, so we're going to have a trigger plate on the inside and motion sensor on the outside. So we're going to do that. We're going to keep the same connectivity. We're going to go from the trigger plate to the motion sensor. Motion sensor is going to go to the door. And because it's detecting me, you can see it's actually following me. It means it's working. And you can set the duration here as well. We're going to put it at 5 seconds. We're going to have it not target zombies. We're going to have it not target strangers, but it's going to open for allies and myself. If I do that, nothing's going to happen because it's only going to open for my allies. But of course, we want to have it for me. So come on, let it close there. And now what should be happening is that if I step on this, it should be opening. And if I'm out and about in my world, I'm out killing some zombies. Oh, sorry, lady, I have to show how that works. And now the motion sensor actually detected me and opened up. And it'll open up our gate. See how simple it is? Once we verify that it works with trigger plate, putting in a motion sensor is really simple. And again, we could do the same thing on the inside. Let's do that. So we're going to come from the generator to the first motion sensor to the second motion sensor. And it's opening because this one sees me. And I go through, and this one sees me, and it opens. Super simple. And again, if you're doing that with the garage doors, for instance, or the, well, let me put it, these, what are they called again? Drawbridges. It's exactly the same thing. So we're basically just have to make sure we are hooking it up. Generator to the first one. First motion sensor to the second motion sensor. Second motion sensor to whatever doorway it is. It has to be powered. I'm using the powered vault door, powered garage door, reinforced drawbridge to powered, and the powered vault hatch. Of course, if you're using the regular ones, it's not going to work. But if you're using the powered ones, it will. So when either of these pick me up, it's going to open. See the outside one. If I then show myself for the inside, it's going to open up as well. Very, very convenient. What I normally do for my bases is that on my outside, I have a motion sensor so that it will open for me and possibly for allies. On the inside, it's a little bit inconvenient of, let's say I'm walking around my base and it keeps opening because the motion sensor always is detecting me. And that's why I like to have actually just a trigger plate on the inside so that you don't have that, no, not this one. This one. Come to this one. Thank you very much. So that it won't open just because you happen to be walking around your base. So now I've disconnected this motion sensor, so I have to step on this before it will open from the inside. But from the outside, it will open just by the motion sensor detecting me. It's a super useful concept to use when you're doing building with the power doors and the powered hatches, etc. And this is how it works. Signal pass-through. Generator to the first trigger to the second trigger directly, and the second trigger to whatever you're trying to power. And it works the same thing with trigger plates. You could use tripwires, or you could use motion sensors, or you can simply nest them whichever way you want to. Have one trigger plate and one motion sensor, or one tripwire. Either one works. The important thing is that they're connected directly without anything in between. If you have another powered thing in between, it becomes an AND gate, and both of them have to be triggered. So that's generally not what you want to have when you're doing these two-way doors. Hopefully you enjoyed this demonstration, ladies. I will be paying you off later on. Or maybe I'll just save a little bit of money. I guess when it comes to zombies, they're deadbeats anyway. Hope you enjoy this, and I'll see you next time.
Special thanks to the great patrons supporting the channel. If you would like to join the Vedui community and support these videos, do follow the Patreon link.